my knowledge of Islam through the Gulen movement has greatly increased, particularly understanding its desire for dialogue, its desire to interact with all people, that it's a very embracing, very hospitable religious tradition. Dr. James Pəgلیسیی, and I work at the campus ministry office at St. Edward's University in Austin, Texas, or a Roman Catholic university. And I also serve on the advisory board for the Dialogue Institute of the Southwest here in Austin. I have not had the opportunity to meet Mr. Gulen. I would like to. He actually lives in my home state, Pennsylvania. But from the writings I've been able to enjoy from his that he's written, I find appreciation for his the intellect that he brings to the interfaith movement, his promotion of citizenship, I believe, of people being involved in their communities, whether it's from their faith perspective, whether it's Islam, Christianity, Judaism, whatever, but that we bring our values into our life in the community, and then that's a good thing. We are all valued-centered people, so I find that a very positive thing about him. His own personal history is actually very similar to the founder of our university, the religious order that founded our university, both wanting to promote education in a time of transition within their country, and just wanting to help their country evolve and grow and enter into the modern world in that sense. So, almost amazed sometimes at the diversity of people that have been able to come together at various Dialogue Institute events, bringing politicians and people from the religious community and people from the education community and from the business community, all into the same space to enjoy discussions and learn about interfaith dialogue, learn about various religious traditions, whether it's Judaism, Christianity, Islam. Just so that the ability to bring such a diverse group of people together is not the easiest thing to do sometimes. So I've been very amazed at the movement that's been able to accomplish that. I think some of the most important contributions that Fethullah Gulen and the movement, and particularly in the Austin community, has contributed is the ability to bring a diverse group of people together, politicians, educators, people from the religious communities, people from the business community, to bring all those people into the same room to enjoy events around dialogue, to understand what dialogue is, to learn about religious literacy, to understand, know a little bit more about Islam, about Judaism, Christianity, whatever the religion is, just increasing that religious literacy, which is something that I think is very vital, particularly in the United States. So I think that's one of the primary contributions that I've really appreciated. And I know in our community at the university that I work at, just the ability to collaborate and provide opportunities for our students to also enjoy those same type of experiences. And then I think providing people from here a chance to go to Turkey, to be in a different culture, in a different cultural setting, anytime that you can immerse yourself into another environment, another background, it breaks down stereotypes and misunderstandings that you have about different places, different cultures, because you get to meet the people. And when you dialogue with people, you find out that we're all pretty much the same. We're mostly interested about raising our kids, making sure we have a good job, a good place, place for our family to live, those the things of life. My knowledge of Islam through the Gulen movement has greatly increased, particularly understanding its desire for dialogue and its desire to interact with all people. That it's a very embracing, very hospitable religious tradition, which is not always what we hear in the media in the United States. So I believe, from my experience, it's provided a very moderate view of what Islam is about, and it's not just about the teachings and the writings. It's the experiences that I had with those who, in a sense, follow Mr. Gulen. When you're in people's homes and you interact with them over a meal, you learn a lot about not just the person, but the things that they value and the things that have informed their values. And so it's built a lot of trust. So I have found the opportunity to learn about Islam through the Gulen movement has been invaluable for me, and particularly in my work, where I work with religious diversity within our Catholic campus. I think the role of whether Muslims should have dialogue with non-Muslims, I think it's a very important activity. There's one of the leading voices in the United States around interfaith dialogue is a gentleman, Ibn Patel. And I recently heard him quoted as saying, if you're not in a room with somebody that you disagree with, you're not in dialogue. We have to talk with people who believe a little bit differently than us, think a little bit differently than us. It helps us to grow. Helps us to grow individually, as a people, and it helps help those that we're in dialogue with to grow as well. I work on a Catholic campus, and we're very much involved, very much interested in developing our own Catholic identity as a Catholic Christian. And the more I talk with people of other religious traditions, Judaism, Islam, the more I learn about Christianity. And I think that's vice versa. I remember one of the events that we had with the Dialogue Institute. We had a conference here several years ago, and we did a survey of 100 Muslim students and 100 Christian students, and we found that the more that a Christian knew about Christianity, the more tolerant they were of a Muslim. The less they knew about Christianity, the more intolerant they were of the Muslim. For the Muslim, the more they knew about Islam, the more tolerant they were of the Christian, and the less they knew about Islam, the less tolerant they were of Christians. So knowledge is so important to break down misunderstandings, both within ourselves and people coming from other traditions. I think it's one of the main doorways to not just religious tolerance, but a world that people live together and thrive together, not just tolerate each other, but actually help each other to grow. I think the use of education within the Hizmet movement to strengthen their communities is a very important thing, and I think the ability to create environments where students can advance intellectually, but also have the mentoring of values, not necessarily teaching certain things, but just having role models of people that live, good lives, that have a positive influence on how people would live. And I think that's an important way to educate. In our tradition, we say you cannot educate the heart without the mind, that the two have to go together. So it's not enough just to teach students skills, but you have to teach them, how do you make good decisions about what's the best use of those skills that helps common humanity. So that comes with good role models, teachers that are able to model good living, family values, just a way to live in the world. Otherwise, you've created people with skill sets, but they may use them for good or bad. The Hizmet movement has been very active in providing relief efforts for people that have been impacted by natural disasters, poverty and such. I think for any people coming from any religious community, that's central to who we are. within Christianity that is central to our work. We say a preferential option for the poor. I know in Islam it's one of the pillars to to provide for the poor and the needy. It's because we are all interrelated. One of the members of the local community here, I remember him once saying that for the Muslim, your neighbor is not the house next door, it's the next 100 houses, meaning there's no end to who your neighbor is. And I think that's just a way to think, a way to orient our lives to always be serving those that are our neighbors, and that there's no end to that. We have to help those that are in need. We give from what we've been given. God has given us things. We need to help those who have not been given as much. It's just it's the way to make the world a more peaceful place. Most people. Violence comes out of people's desperations and manipulation and such. Those things can only breed when there's people that are in dire need. So if we can help people in their need, we'll have a much more peaceful world.
I'm impressed that the movement goes all over the world to try and provide education where education standards are not very high.
We wanted to see that Hizmet change the misconception of many people around the world about Islam. That Islam is hating Jews, Islam doesn't like Christians, Islam doesn't like non-Muslims. Here Hizmet basically helped us to change that image.